hit the jackpot, man. I'm not going to give
Got
up.
it. That's the way you do it, man.
Yeah, I am there. But I want to ask you this, Rick, and I know that you've given. I've watched some videos lately, and you've said about some markets, but I'm taking the approach which you guys suggested. Until I make some money, don't make an investment. Until I've made 100 grand out of this, then I can start investing back into it. All right, I'm gonna perfect the sort of craft of speaking to the people, following up, etc., getting the value from them. I know I'm a bit energetic, Rick, but I try to get out as much as I can. Right. So long and short of it is this: if you was going back to basics, if you was in my position, you've not done a deal before, and all that you've got as far as at your fingertips is for sale by owner, where do you concentrate? Excuse me.
You just call through them. It's a numbers game.
As far as market, as far as state, market, counties, was there anywhere or?
So a lot of people think they're going to trip like me or Zach up on how I do it. I've spent 20 years chasing this business, and remember, I started out in a different time. So getting Zach's version to my version actually I think helps people out on these lives because I started the old school way, and I still use a lot of the old school method. Whereas my son taught me a lot. Like I didn't do cold calling because number one, we didn't have we had to manually dial one by one, and it was really hard to get phone numbers back then. It was almost impossible unless you were associated with a large corporation or you had like an endless budget. Today, it's kind of seamless in how you can get it. The downside is a lot of people can get the same information, so there's more competition than ever. So number one is people got to understand you have to come up with a plan and you have to execute it. Execution is the hardest part. Everyone's got amazing plans. When it comes down to everybody I talk on these streams, if I get into the mechanics of the execution, that's typically where you're going to find the biggest roadblock. So I would always tack any type of government list, specifically I made a living on code violations for 3 years. It's all I did, guys. Like it wasn't easy. It's just nobody else was using it at the time. And then once I started doing deals, I would look at the year end with my accountant and he'd go, "Hey, how did you find these 4 deals?" I'm like, "I don't know." And then I started doing Intel, and that's how I found probates. I did probates completely by accident. First 7 years, I didn't even touch a probate. I did them by accident. I actually got them from driving for dollars because I looked for old, crappy, ugly houses and most of them fit the bill. Then once we decided to extract that list from the courthouse, it was a complete change. It was unbelievable. And I got to tell you, it changed how I did my business. Hold on, let me block this person. So knowing that if your plan is to do this on the hustle, grind, muscle, and I'm fine with it because a lot of you are doing that and I'm fine with it. The advantage that number one, it's more frustrating in the beginning. I'll be the first one to tell you. But remember, your anxiety is put into the hard work. Imagine if you drop 10 grand on something you don't completely understand and if it doesn't work out, you're done. To me, that is more stressful. And I did a little bit of both in the beginning. I got much more of a reward getting a deal with little to none of my money as opposed to the route where I spent $3,000 to $5,000 on direct mail because it was horrifying. And I didn't understand how direct mail worked. And I had someone coach me along with it and they gave me really bad advice. And I lost a lot of money in the beginning. That's why I'm so like, don't start out with direct mail. The reason is I didn't know how to talk to customers. I didn't know how to negotiate. I didn't really know how to identify anything. And by your ability to go through thousands of people, which is what it's going to take, you now have learned a skill set that would probably cost you $10,000 on your own. And although you don't feel like you get traction, you are making unbelievable progress that you can't see. Yes. And it's hard for you guys to see that, but I can see it after 20 years. I'm telling you right now, there is more value in understanding and learning and getting an education how to talk to people. Remember, once you pay for a lead, it's more pressure to convert it. Sure. And most of you are not prepared for that kind of pressure. Take any company that does a PPC. Do you think they hand their PPCs to people that have never spoke to people?
Only go to the
Absolutely not. Guys, a lot of the PPC, ready? For one click, it can cost $500 for that one lead. I don't even do PPC. It doesn't that it's work. I don't have the energy or I don't want to spend the time in doing it. And I've watched most people do it in my market. It is a big boy budget, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. To me, it's just too stressful. I'm sorry. And in the beginning, it was a little bit cheaper. Facebook ads is kind of the same thing. If you guys can figure out how to get leads organically and you master it, oh my God, dude, like imagine. So it's the same thing is like anything else you do in life. So like, what do you enjoy doing outside of work?
I enjoy doing some drifting. I've got like a BMW that we take to the drift track.
Correct.
So
the first time you went, did you do it in a fancy car?
No,
you rented one or used your buddies, right?
Smash. She's a Beetle. We paid small money for it, and we was the car park warriors, you know, just skidding around.
And so how long you been doing it now?
Well, to be honest with you, Zach, Rick, I've probably done it 2 handfuls of times in the few years that we've had the cars.
But like, think about what you've learned in your experience now. And if you were going to go out and buy a car to do it now, it's like, holy crap. The difference from when I started and what I wholesaling is the exact same thing. And that's why the problem is you guys don't see instant results because you're in a society that teaches you how to get instant dopamine hits by getting instant satisfaction. Wholesaling's not that way. Now, the good thing is you don't have to wait years, but you do have to sometime wait months. And as painful as what you're going through, I would stick to government lists, any type of high motivation free list, FISBOs, and I would log my time. So a lot of people go, well, how many calls do I get a deal? I go, it doesn't work that way. I've seen people get it on their 3rd call or their 3,000th call. So why don't you look at it a different way? See how many hours you log calling? Get somebody to 1,000 hours logging. And if you can't make progress within 1,000 hours, then we have to have a different conversation. And I'm just telling you, that's what it takes. Guys, the other way around it is imagine if you did a direct mail campaign, you were doing 10,000 pieces a month. You wouldn't sleep at night. I used to do that. It was horrifying. I didn't like it. And it was so much pressure on me. And I didn't know how to, the problem is I didn't know how to convert the leads because it takes experience to talk to them. So if you understand the mechanics of qualifying them, building rapport and having conversations and getting to that negotiation piece, oh my God, then you're happy to pay for leads. And that's all I want. So some people do it in the first few months. Some people take years. It doesn't matter. We're all different. I learned terribly in school. I didn't understand because I didn't conform to the traditional school teaching. And because of that, that's who the man I am today. And that's the skill sets I've taught to my son. But I was told because I didn't fit in the herd mentality, I'm going to fail miserably. And I stuck to my guns. It was painful, but I've always been who I am. So don't change what you're doing. You can, and by the way, guys, you can use a combo of both. I'm not saying you can't, but the reality is I'd get as much human practice as I could humanly possibly. And by the way, I know all this AI technology is going to help us out. It's never going to replace the response of a human because to this date, I'm going on 21 years. I still get responses. I'm like, what? 20 years into the business. For the most part, I can break down anyone's objection to 5 or 6 objections every time. And I know how to do it. In the beginning, I didn't know how to do that. And I wasted a lot of time and money because I paid for leads and I didn't know what I was doing. Why? Because my guru told me to do that. And that's what got me into trouble like a lot of times. And then when I went out and figured out how to do it on my own and I put in the time, it was, I don't know, there's something about when you figure out how to do something on your own, it's very satisfying. And you can master anything in life today. YouTube has proven this to you time and time again. Why should we make wholesaling any different? So listen, start looking at the time you're logging in. And once you get to 1,000 hours, then we can have a serious conversation. But like, you got to get like that first deal. And then once you start to get confident in your ability to talk to people, how do you gauge your confidence? Number one, the amount of hours and phone calls you make. And number two, are you getting contracts? Because part of it is getting to the contract. Sometimes you guys get the price wrong and you learn, you get out of the contract and you learn how to talk to your cash buyers and put it all together. But you guys are going to go through a journey in 2023. It's going to make you an incredible wholesaler because it's not the easiest thing in the world right now. It's just the truth. Every guru tells me it's simple as pie. I just flip them on the beach. It's not, dude, guys. I started at 7 a.m. this morning. I've been busting my butts. I take this time and I talk to you guys and I have struggles just like you guys do, but I keep doing it. I enjoy what I do. And what I think's hard is actually easy. And I never forget the day I sat in your shoes, Fred. And I had so much self-doubt. So don't psych yourself out before you even start the game because you're going to get behind. You are just as good as I am. Here's the only difference. I just done it longer and more consistent about it because here's how people do wholesaling. Most people try it out for a month, 2, maybe 3, and they quit. I would probably say 90% of the people follow that model. So you have to find a way to survive it. So how long have you been doing it for?
Well, I mean, on and off, Rick. I mean, obviously I've been making ends meet in other ways. And then obviously.
And so did I. I had a regular job when I did this.
Absolutely. And this is obviously, an afternoon evening venture because of the time difference in the UK. So it kind of works out well, but at the same time, obviously there's only so much, candle that there is to burn. So on and off, I toyed with the idea last year and then it's like November time, I sort of made a decision, right, as of December, I'm going to get my head down. And then, but I told Zach the other night, I was apprehensive to get somebody to sign on a contract because I didn't want to, in all honesty, and this is the complete honest truth, I just didn't want my first deal to roll over. I didn't want my first contract to be one that didn't get pushed onto a buyer and it to not sell. And obviously I've just got all these reservations for a number of reasons.
So just let it go.
Yeah, I will.
You're going to make mistakes and understanding it and moving forward. Stop. Realtors wait for the perfect contract. You can't. We don't. We have to ride them. And here's the reality. I still have to get out of contracts every now and then.
All right.
In the beginning, it was painful. And guys, I didn't even know what I was doing. I just know I need to get the best price and you need to spend time trying to find the cash buyers to figure out where their headset is. They are a pain in the butt butt right now. I am all on the same board with you guys. I mean, I have deals right now. I'm just like, oh my God, is that smoking? They're like, I need it $15,000 cheaper. I'm just like, because my staff comes back to me like, Rick, some of these deals are really hard to move now. And this isn't going to last like this forever. So if you can figure it out now, it's be amazing. But so stop beating yourself up. You're your own worst critic. If you make a mistake, what's the worst case scenario, Fred?
It rolls over and I find my way out of the contract.
You get out of the contract and you move on and you apologize. And then maybe you can renegotiate it. Maybe they'll be a little bit more realistic and you can move on from there. We are not here to hurt people. We are only here to help people. And if the contract doesn't work for you and your cash buyer, then you have to get out and you move on. And listen, I don't want you to get the wrong price, but we can wait and study this stuff for years to get to the perfect contract. It's not going to get you to the finish line. And so a lot of times, if you do what you fear the most and just get it over with, you go, so worst case here, if it doesn't work out, what's your worst fear? You get out of the contract. It's embarrassing. Like you just like big deal. They just want too much for their house and you felt for their sob story and you go like, okay, now I know I just got to work with motivated sellers and you live and you learn. But guys, let me tell you what, I've put contracts under tight numbers and I've made $30,000, $40,000 profits. So if you constantly try to protect your downside, you're going to kill your upside. So remember, I'm not out here to put properties under contract and waste people's time because I'm going to waste my time. But every now and then you got to understand, you're going to have to do it, especially with you being in the UK, you're doing something unique and I commend you for it. I think it's absolutely amazing, but don't let it hold you back, man. Like it's just, you got to think like the fighter's mentality. You just got to fight through it and get through it. So many times when a fighter walks in the ring, do you know 90% of them, some of them are beaten before they even throw the first punch because it's in their head. They're like, this guy's going to kill me. He's more experienced. He knows what he's doing. And honestly, that guy's thinking on the other side, he goes, man, this young guy's going to take me out because he's fearless. And you have this battle before you even touch gloves. Guys, I used to wrestle. I used to psych myself out before I even started in high school. And I've learned it's just another man. They're no different than me. It doesn't matter what their skin color, it doesn't matter where they're from. We're all humans and we're all connected. And with AI going in the future, you're going to be able to more easily crack the code being in a international market. And so shoot, maybe one day I got to come over there and try to figure out how to flip properties over there. My wife, like her favorite place in the world is to go to the UK. So it's like, she's, can't you get over there and do something? Like, I've been over there once. I'll figure out another time to go over it. But like, honestly, you guys are your biggest opponent. I was my biggest opponent. No one ever took me out other than myself. And then the minute I started comparing myself to others, like you have no idea what's going on. Everything online, most of it's fake. It's just the truth. That's why I make everything for free because I can't fake it with you. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time. And if you understand that, stop beating yourselves up in the head, guys. Like it's you against the world. The only thing you need to compare yourself is cross country is the perfect sport, in my opinion, because you're only racing against your previous time. You cannot let the race dictate how you run it. So have you ever been in a race, especially as a kid?
Yeah, I used to race motocross, dirtbikes.
Yeah, but you tend to pace the person to the left and right of you, right? And the minute you get out in front, you're like, okay, I'm going to let it back a little bit. And so if you predetermine the race is, okay, the first 2 miles, here's the RPMs I'm going to get, and here's the time I want to come in. And no matter what anybody else does, that's what I'm sticking to. So you see this all the time with marathon runners. Until the very end, you cannot pace. And you guys constantly try to pace yourself against keyboard warriors that are doing nothing. The only thing you're competing against is yourself. Make yourself 1% better every day. And the minute you stop comparing yourself to other people, you're not Rick, you're not Zach, you're Fred. And that's all I need you to be. And don't change who you are, accent you are. You have unique challenges, so you're going to have to go the extra mile. But I got to tell you, you're very confident. You're fun to talk to. It's just you're going to have to put in the time and you're just going to have to keep adapting your list, the free list. And then once you get that, you get some money, you can decide how you want to do because you could really leverage direct mail, especially being overseas.
Definitely. That's my plan. But I wanted to put like a sort of commitment out there because I said to Zach that the other day, I said, I'm confident I can go back and get this contract. And they haven't answered since. But I've been in sales before and that's part and parcel, right?
Yeah. So, people love to ghost you. So the most critical thing to understand is, especially in the beginning, when you get somebody on the phone and they're open to talking to you and there's some sort of motivation, sometimes you got to get as much information as you can while they're willing, because boy, do they shift quickly when they get off the phone and it drives me nuts. But that's part of the game. So sometimes at the beginning, especially being overseas, it's critical you get as much information as humanly possible. Additional cell phones, emails, everything, so you can connect with them and make sure, because when they start ghosting you, it's a lot more work, especially with between time zones and distance. So
excellent stuff. All right, I'll record more information. I just wanted to put a goal out there, in front of everybody, or the whole community, and I wish everybody every success coming week. But by next Friday, I want to have a contract, and I want to.
Don't be scared of the contract not working out. You got to get past that. You get past it, you just write a contract.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a contract by next next week, by next Friday.
Awesome. Okay, Fred, go get it, man.
I feel good luck to everybody,
Okay.
including yourself.
I'll see